Tidbits. We are the trade body and cluster management organisation for Scotland's digital and tech sector. Just over a year ago now, we launched a series of these tech tidbits, which takes place the first Tuesday of every month at 11:30. These sessions are short half-hour sessions designed to knowledge share on areas that you may want to know more about, encouraging you to innovate with your newfound knowledge and potentially collaborate with some of our hosts. Today's session will be a presentation followed by a Q&A, so if you would like to put your questions in the chat, please, we will come to them at the end. And today's presentation, we have David Lawrence, who is founder and MD of Grant McGregor. David is going to talk about the journey that Grant McGregor went through to achieve their ISO 9001, which is their quality management, and their ISO 27001, their information security certification. So hopefully during this session we will learn why they started the journey, how ISO standards help protect customers and improve processes, and the benefits that David and the team have seen since they have achieved their certification. So I will hand over to you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Yep, thank you for the warm introduction. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining myself. I'm David Lawrence from Grant McGregor. My colleague who did the majority of the heavy lifting at Grant McGregor is Katerina, and she's joining us today. So Grant McGregor, we're a managed security service provider in Dundee and Edinburgh. The company is named after the two founders, mother's maiden names. My mother was the McGregor. And if you're joining us today to hear the journey of a small company working and achieving ISO 9001 and 27001 compliance and the lessons they learned along the way, the good news is you're at the right event. So where did it all begin? So why did we start the ISO accreditation? As we grew as a company, as our customers changed and they matured, we set out 3 goals to retain and attract new customers. I suppose number 1, we thought it was important to improve and secure our processes and procedures. And number 2, we thought it was important to create consistency. And number 3, we thought it was important to meet our customers' expectations. And we thought that ISO accreditation would help us achieve these 3 goals. As I said at the beginning, my colleague Katerina, who did the majority of the heavy lifting that led the ISO work for Grant McGregor, she'll introduce herself now.
Hi everyone, I'm Katerina. I'm the operations manager here at Grant McGregor, and hopefully we'll guide you through our journey, and we'll leave you with a few golden tips at the end that will help everyone that is looking forward to do something similar. David, over to you for our timeline.
You sneakily put these in a different order, but there we go. Right. So yes, back in 2018, I suppose I had the vision of trying to sort out some of the challenges that we just highlighted. The organisation wasn't chaotic, but it certainly needed to improve, and we needed to remove some of the mistakes we were making. So we did a job description, went out to the market, and we, luckily enough, that Katerina was one of the people that we interviewed and then employed. And the objective of Katerina's role was to get a grips with our existing processes and procedures, but really with the long-term vision and goal of achieving ISO compliance. So in 2019 to 21, clearly the end part of that, COVID kind of got in the way so it was extended a little bit. But the process has evolved, and the standardization was maturing. And as I'll talk later, the critical part of all of this was about setting the right expectations internally with our own people. Communicating the journey was so important and critical to getting our own people involved in this maturity and this process. So in early 2022, Catherine and I and the organization made a formal decision to pursue ISO. We were confident that we could achieve both the 9001 and 27001 standards, one being quality and the other one being the security aspect. So we went through the journey in 2022. Katrina did most of the heavy lifting and scoping, and the discovery begins, and how we're matching what we had already achieved at Grant McGregor against those two compliances. And in March 23, Katrina performed a gap analysis of what we already had versus what we needed to do. And we set out a 9-month program. It was quite stressful at times, but we got there in the end. And then clearly we achieved the compliance.
So yes, that spreadsheet of the gap analysis, I will only mention the number. It had nearly 200 lines of improvement. It was a bit scary, but it was very, very detailed. What changed for us for 9001? I've made a small list of the big wins we achieved. So 9001 is the exercise that you say what you do, you write everything down, and then you go back and you do what you say. It helped us to be more organized. We are now reliable, and we're focused on quality. Our greatest wins were making our ticket workflows clearer, so incidents and requests are handled in a more organized way, and they are easier to follow. Our customer onboarding is smoother, so setting up now is a simpler project with more consistent process that's being done right every time. Our service levels are more predictable, so all of our customers can expect the same high standard of service in every touch point. We don't have different sets of A, Bs, and Cs customers. Everybody receives that golden quality standard. We have better visibility of our KPIs internally, and something that we changed. It took some effort, but now our KPIs are shared externally live, which is something that was a big win for the team. And we, of course, have clearly defined objectives that are tracked, and everyone in the organization knows what quality means and what are the goals that they're working towards achieving. ISO 27001 might sound more scary, but it actually wasn't for us. Grant McGregor was already holding a level 2 IASME certifications for some time, even before I joined. So 27001 was that stamp of approval with slight improvement in our information security posture, and we embedded quite easily, I might say, all the controls to every process that we already had. We are now assessing all information assets for risks. We capture all the risks and we manage them effectively. This is something that we introduced with the new standard. It's a regular exercise that if you leave to the site, it will be double next year. Our access controls are now strong and well-defined, so the right information, and more importantly, our access controls are well documented in a really big spreadsheet again, but it's so easy to manage. We have a clear plan to respond to incidents, and more importantly, we now test it, and we involve the whole business. We regularly review and adjust all the above, and more importantly, everyone knows what Grant McGregor security objectives are, and they comply in every step of the way in their everyday work. So why we decided to do both of them together? I know, as David said, it sounds like a more stressful exercise, but what you gain is what is called an IMS. It is an integrated management system. With an integrated management system, we combine the requirements of both standards and simplifies a lot of the overlaps on how the standard operates. So our IMS is based on the same strong pillars. It has shared governance between the two standards, and their roles and responsibilities are set in the same one document for everything that we are achieving through ISO. All factions of the organizations know what their responsibilities are, and quality is tracked and monitored in every interaction. So we start from sales and marketing, we move to finance, and throughout the technical team, it's a full business exercise. Security is embedded not only to our service desk, our projects and professional services team or consultancy, is something that we includes the whole organization again. We embed security controls into human resources, into procurement with our list of approved suppliers, and to all internal operations as well. The full integrated management system is audited internally. Myself and our head of service, Paul Sinclair, are trained internal auditors, so we've equally trained and audit functions of the business. And we are also audited externally by UCAS certified certification body. We're now into our year 2, and we're planning for our big certification audit next year. So we passed the year 2 surveillance audit a month ago. We continually improve. All objectives are embedded into our business management system. We track and we follow and we review, and hopefully we mark some of them done and we set the next ones. Over to David about the challenges.
Thanks, Katrina. So I talked a little bit earlier about culture, and we're kind of told that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and culture is such an important part of the ISO accreditation. Just to achieve it, you really have to get people involved from all parts of the organization. So communicating with everybody and everyone and reasoning for the ISO accreditation is so important. And there will always be pushback, that people don't like change, as we know with anything, especially with something like ISO accreditation. It changes and evolves the organization. So there will be pushback. There'll be people that will find it more difficult than others to follow the processes and procedures. So, don't rush the journey. The culture part is very important, but so is the consistency that the processes and procedures provide. If I was to articulate, I guess, 3 challenges we faced, and I think how we overcame them, or Katerina overcame them, was, people doing their day job, and people are very busy doing that. So we're giving them an additional work. So we need to help them find that space to help and develop the processes and procedures, as well as doing their day job. So supporting them as well. Communication, we constantly communicated to all of our organization consistently and constantly. Weekly, all staff events, quarterly meetings that we have, and the benefits of ISO. So they understood a little bit of that discomfort, a little bit of that pain, why we were doing this. And I think that helped create ownership and accountability. But as I said right at the beginning, employing and having Katerina on the team, ultimately you need to have someone that understands ISO and that is responsible and accountable for the project. If you give that responsibility to too many people, it just will not work. Like any other function in the organization, you need somebody that is accountable and that is somebody who's responsible for that. Thanks, Kat. The benefits to our customers are, I said at the beginning that we had multiple services and it was inconsistent. So we were making mistakes. I think right from the start with the salespeople, they were selling services that the expectations were wrong. Our technical people were delivering services, and our finance people were billing the service. So there were still small but significant inconsistencies from start to finish. So one example, sometimes our monthly invoices would have the wrong number of items, and this would take a lot of time to correct, a lot of anxiety going back between the two teams. So, we needed to remove the complexity. We needed to create one main standard offering, and we needed a compliant, scalable, and manageable service that was critically secure. So this wasn't about putting a shiny UCAS certificate on the wall. It was about us maturing as an organization and building a business that could scale and scale securely.
So if I could give and share with everyone that is here today some lessons learned or my golden tips that comes from a few years of experience implementing ISO in different types of organizations. First of all, you need to start with the things that already work. Don't try to make changes, that just implement and map what already works. Second, as David mentioned, you need to assign clear owners from the beginning. Leadership, involvement, and sponsorship is very important with this kind of programs and changes. You need to have a certain fully embedded roles for ISO in every person, so everyone knows what is expected from them. If possible, to do that in the scoping stages, then you are one step ahead. You need to celebrate every win. As David said, everybody's doing their daily job and something extra, that the outcomes will be visible a few months later. So you need to celebrate, motivate, and give credit to people as you move forward. And my golden tip, that simple is always better. The system needs to work for your organization and not the other way around, not your organization to work for the system. So it's not something, a full list of process and paperwork that you need to add to your daily lives. It's organizing your daily lives and making sure that things are simple, flowing correctly, and with your quality and security checks along the way. If it's the other way around, then you're just adding an extra workload to everyone. So I think, yes, ISO is a framework. It's not just a badge, as David said. It's not only to put on your website, on your walls. It's a way to structure how you do your business. David, over to you.
Thanks, Katrina. I've used the word journey, I think, a couple of times. So if I was to use a metaphor, yes, you'll get to the train platform when you become ISO accredited. You'll have that shiny certificate on the wall. Unfortunately, you must get back on the train and continue the journey. It's a continuous compliance. So every day, every month, and every year, there's still work to be done. Every time you make a change internally, this needs reflected in the paperwork. Every time you spot an opportunity to make something better or to improve, these needs reflected in the ISO paperwork as well. And I think critically, every time you receive feedback from your own people or customers, this needs reflected in the paperwork. So you're always this continuous journey of improvements. It's such a critical aspect of ISO. And every time you're made aware of any new security threat or vulnerability, that feeds back into the process as well. ISO does not make us perfect. We are not perfect, but it helps us 99% of the time. And we feel that we're meeting our customers' expectations, a lot better the majority of the time now, because we do have these processes and procedures in place. And I think we found the balance that people can still colour outside the lines, but within the framework of ISO, so it's not too restrictive. You know, we all hate when we phone an organisation up and they're following a process and procedures and it's prescriptive. You know, that does not work for us, and I'm sure it wouldn't work for you. It's really there as a structure, handrails and guidance for our team. And we found the whole journey, now that we are compliant after a couple of years, just a really good benefit for us. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And yeah, publicly want to thank Katerina for all her hard work as well.
You are very welcome.
Thank you both. That was very insightful. I know that the whole ISO certification processes are quite scary for some SMEs because it is lengthy, it is in depth, and it's time consuming, and actually can be expensive. So having an insight from you on what that process has been like. I will open to any questions, but whilst people are considering, I have a few already. So you spoke around, David, that culture piece and getting the team on board, and obviously when you're going through some of these certification processes, like you say, things need to change, and the way that you've done things historically isn't necessarily the right way. So I know the continual communication. Were there any challenges that you faced around getting the team on board at the kind of early onset when the decision was made by the management team that you were going to try and secure your ISO accreditation? Is there hints and tips on maybe some of the languages, or, you know, some of the terminology that our founders, our CEOs can use when they're looking to communicate the benefits to their team that you've learned from?
That's a very good question, Darren. It's not in my nature particularly to take my time to do things. You know, once I've set my mind up, you know, I kind of want things to be done, and that I felt was never going to work with the ISO journey we were going to be on. So I kind of alluded to that in the presentation, that, you know, we kept that a little bit of a secret, that we wanted at the end to be ISO compliant, but we needed the culture to reset slightly, that we were building our processes and procedures, and we were taking our time to do that. And Katerina was employed to kind of culturally help and steer the organisation over a year. I think it was a year period, to get everybody accustomed to, you know, simply documenting their work. You know, that could be checklists, help sheets, knowledge articles, whatever that might be. And they were already getting accustomed and disciplined to what might come in the future. And then, you know, I think they got excited about, I think, you know, some of the anxiety that in any organization that happens when people make mistakes, we were making less of that. So they were seeing the benefits. And then Katerina communicated the potential of moving to ISO compliances in that journey. And I don't think we sugarcoated it. We knew, and we communicated that it would be hard work. And as I said, it wasn't right for everybody. So did we see challenges with our colleagues? Yes. But when we communicated the benefits to them in the way that it would remove them making mistakes each day, it would remove those difficult conversations that they might have when they made the mistakes. Yeah. You know, again, that human emotion, they could see the value of the journey with us.
Yeah, and I think it's that balance between, we're not monitoring your work, we're monitoring the process of the business. And I think that's probably some of that messaging that we have to get right. I have a couple of more questions, but I certainly do have one, so bear with. Are there any misconceptions about the process you were concerned about? So as I'd mentioned, you know, as a the ISO certification, when you think about it, long, arduous, expensive process. Is that a misconception? I appreciate that there are elements of it that will, you know, cover that, but from a having now achieved it, what were some of the misconceptions, or, you know, some of these things? It's no, absolutely not. It was the right thing to do, and we're a better business for it.
One of the highest misconceptions with ISO standards is the amount of documents is required. What everybody needs to realize is that you can make it as small or as big as you would like. So the actually required documents, they're not so many. It's the evidence to prove that you're doing the things correctly that are required. And evidence is quite easy to find, because especially with small businesses, it is the outcome of everyone's work. So I think the biggest misconception with certificates is that, so every business should think about the documentation and make it as it works for them. So different businesses have different levels of SOPs or processes and procedures. And also is the way that documentation is done is a big misconception that I had with many colleagues. You will always hear that I won't write a document for everyone to do my job, but this is not actually required. It can be in any form that the person that does the job needs it to be. And the document needs to be understood by the person that does the job. So I don't need to understand how to set up correctly the quality controls for installing a firewall, but another engineer needs to understand that. And the same for finance. Most of our finance procedures are flowcharts, and it's the way that it works for our team. So don't try and follow the certificate or the blogs as you read them, or the list of documents, but think about how it will work for your own business. I think it's one of the highest scares that people get when they see the list or read the standards.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, and it's great to hear that actually that's not necessarily the case, and you're matching your processes to the ISO certification as opposed to trying to create all of the points within the certification to your business. So wonderful. One of the other questions I have is around your ISO 27001. Obviously, we have our managed service cluster, we have our cybersecurity cluster. Cybersecurity, resilience, and cyber posture is, you know, one of the key points for ScotlandIS in our sector. So when you achieved your ISO 27001, have those standards changed the way that Grant McGregor look at or assess risk, you know, operationally and from your information security?
I can answer part of this. I'm sure Katerina will answer the rest. I think we've all, I mean, I've learned this over time. I think we've all compliant. So if it's ISO accreditation, if it's Cyber Essentials, if it's IASME, if it's NIST, whatever the compliancy is, you can put that framework in place, and I'm sure you could achieve the accreditation. But actually, that's just the certificate on the wall. What we've learned is the journey and the culture change is the most important part. And then and I hate to say this, but if you're bringing everybody along with you and they're maturing through the compliance, whatever that compliance might be, in our case, it was Cyber Essentials first, and then IASME governance, and then ISO. You really see all those people mature and actually understand the importance of the security aspects, and then kind of by osmosis over that time, they then embody that, I think critically, because they understand it, and then work with it. But yeah, if you're looking just to put the framework in place and magically achieve it, I think you could, but then you'll see it unravel afterwards. You know, it's one of those cliches that you need to bring the people on board.
Absolutely. And I suppose just some practical guidance then. If you could start your ISO journey again, knowing what you know now, would you do anything differently?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think for us, with the maturity that we have now, what I would have changed is focus on what we are securing, especially for 27001. If you start with the mindset that what is important, we as technology people, we think about our tools, our software, lack of technology for an incident, but it's not about that. It's what matters for the business. So what is your product? This is what you're trying to secure. Then you open up the circle and you are trying to figure out where your information is and how you need to secure each piece of information. So looking at it the other way around, because we are very technical, we come from a technical background, we went right away for our technical controls and we love them and they were already there. So that was a big win. But now with maturity, what we're realizing is that you need to think about the information and then decide on the control. And if you think about it that way, for example, now in our second year, we realized that intangible information is also very important. We need to secure things that we haven't ever thought before. We need to secure our brand. We need to secure our name. We need to secure the legacy of the company. So this is the next level of ISO. But if you start with information, then I think the mindset is kind of different and it might be an easier process.
The only thing I would add to that, if I may, is that maybe we've not been clear about this, or maybe Katrina was, that we decided that our accreditations, the scope, so what we said we would be accredited on, was actually the entire business. So we didn't say we would just get accredited for the service delivery or the finance. So I think we wanted to bring all the functions of the business be accredited. So we knew that if we were trying to fix just one part of the business, that wouldn't fix the other part of the business. So we made it a little bit more harder on ourselves. But your organization might be different. So you might not see the need to, so a good example, maybe if you were a factory, you would maybe just put ISO accreditation on the production line or the manufacturing part. And not the sales or the finance, but we decided as a small organization to do it company wide, to get that compliancy, which I think, as we said, eliminated the mistakes that we were making.
Wonderful. And so we have a question from Sam. You mentioned completing Cyber Essentials first. Obviously, ISO 27001 is much more far-reaching. But was there much overlap, and would you say that CE was worthwhile? I would definitely say that CE is first worthwhile, Sam. But David?
I'd agree. I think they're questions that are both related and then they're somewhat different. I'm a Cyber Essentials assessor. Don't let my youth fool you. And actually, I'm giving a talk tomorrow, I think, with ScotlandIS about Cyber Essentials as well. So if you were starting from a baseline and not having any compliance, Cyber Essentials is a very good place to start. I was about to say easy, but that's depending on your organization. But it's a really great place to secure your organization and actually start that culture of responsibility. I think a lot of people, when they think about Cyber Essentials or even the ISO accreditation, it's not the technical controls can kind of take care of themselves. So the IT bits can be updated and you can have the right malware or security in place. But actually, the big part of Cyber Essentials should be culture. The security policies, the culture of how you're managing security within the organization. If you do it correctly, and I think so, Cyber Essentials, yes, is a great place to start completely.
And for anyone on the call who is in that emerging tech space, we, I think, have still some funding for you to secure your Cyber Essentials certification. So Sam or anyone else who's on the call who's looking to do that, if you're interested, get in touch with ScotlandIS and we can let you know what the criteria is. But to David's point, we feel it is absolutely that first step of resilience that every business should have at the very least. And ScotlandIS is working with, you know, David and the team at Grant McGregor and various others across our network to ensure that as many businesses and Scottish Government have that Cyber Essential certification. Any other questions before I ask my very last one? Sorry, I feel like this is a bit of a grill and it's not meant to be, David. I'm just trying to make sure that we cover all of the bases. So you mentioned through that it's that continual updates and improvements after certifications. It's not a one and done. It's that continuation. And I suppose for many of the businesses that are in ScotlandIS membership, they're small SMEs. So looking at the time and the capacity of the team to continue that on a, you know, they maybe don't have a Katarina in their team, so it's the senior management. What is that time requirement? What's that, you know, that dedication that's required from the senior management team to ensure that this is a constant progression?
It's a very good question. I think first off, I mean, from a commercial perspective, when we made the decision to employ Katarina, this was a role that we didn't have. So it was going to cost our business some extra money per year. We hoped, and I kind of prayed, but kind of knew if we were to do this properly, that investment and having somebody like Katarina would pay off. Yeah. You know, the simple things like okay, we're in a commercial environment, but if you're a charity or any other type of organization, you know, you can lose faith with customers or reputation by making mistakes, and there'll be a cost to that, be it financial or reputation. So we knew that investment was critical. Katarina certainly had been full-time in this role, and if I was to say, not knowing most organizations, you definitely want somebody that can, for the most part, probably 50-50 focus on ISO, that compliancy journey, certainly until you get the compliancy, because there will be a fair bit of heavy lifting initially, and then thereafter that tailors off until the audit each year. So that can be, you're looking for somebody that is disciplined, somebody that loves structure, loves processes and procedures, and most organizations have that person. You know, that can be a finance person or it could be a project manager, but somebody that likes detail and structure, and then critically has a bit is good with people, and that might be a harder combination to get. But and then the role of the leadership, the role of certainly my responsibilities were to not get in the way of Katarina. Definitely. And not to try. I remember picking up a book of ISO accreditations, and I was thumbing through and thought, you know, I don't need to know this. You know, I need to support and be there for Katarina and the organization. And sometimes when people came to me with frustrations about the journey, to gently push back and support it and come out from an emotive position that it's actually helping the staff, my colleague, and they would see the benefits. So the leadership role was to make the decision and then support it culturally.
And be a good role model, if I can add something. So my usual example is if David can do a change request for something, everybody could find 5 minutes and do a proper change request when they need to make something, a change in the system. So leadership needs to be the first people that are going to showcase that it's not that hard, you can do it, it's easy, but also be there for the feedback, because sometimes I feel that the feedback comes from management. So when a team member is frustrated, sometimes they don't come to the person implementing the system, which is not the good way, but as I said, simplifying and hearing everyone
Yeah.
it's good, but still the management needs to sponsor and be the first ones to comply so everybody else can follow. Which was easy for Dave. It was quite easy based on his assessor hat. It was quite easy.
But actually, like I think Sam had said earlier about Cyber Essentials, both Cyber Essentials and ISO accreditation need the leadership or the board to be involved. I mean, they can't devolve that responsibility. I mean, it's part of the framework. So every year from Cyber Essentials, you need board level, senior level leadership making those decisions and culture, but also in ISO as well. I've got to actually have a standing minute within a board meeting at least every quarter and once a year, and that might just be a discussion piece, but it's front and center about what we have to do as leaders.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you both very much for taking the time to chat to us today. If anyone would like an introduction to David or Katerina, please drop a note to myself or Kat from the ScotlandIS team. And if you're in Dundee tomorrow, you will see David again speaking about Cyber Essentials. So thank you for that. And again, just a reminder, if you haven't secured Cyber Essentials and you're looking to, and we absolutely recommend that you do, please get in touch with ScotlandIS because we may have some funding to help you secure that certification. Thank you again both for taking the time for us today. Thank you everyone for joining us. The session is recorded and it will be up on our YouTube channel at some point, either today or the next couple of days. And we look forward to seeing you at the next ScotlandIS Tech Tidbit. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.